Hey everybody, it's Mitch Axelrod from the Fab 4 Free For All podcast, here with another Fab 4 Free For All finds video, which we hope you will find entertaining and informative. Today's video was going to be called Love Me Dupes or Love Me Do Oops, but after thinking about it a little, I think we're just going to call it Love Me Redo, and I'll explain why. It has to do with the 50th anniversary re-release of the Love Me Do single in the UK, which was released in October of 1962. And you think, okay, that's easy enough. We'll re-release it. Everybody will be happy. We celebrate and goodbye. No, that's not what happened at all. You can mess things up, and boy, was this thing messed up. And we'll explain how. First, a little bit of backstory on the single itself. In 1962, Ringo is new to the group, as we all know. On September 4th, they go into record How Do You Do It, mostly because they really, EMI decided they wanted, or George Martin decided they wanted How Do You Do It to be their first single. So they go in and do a bunch of takes on that, and they do a bunch of takes on Love Me Do with Ringo on drums. Well, they finished that session, and George Martin says to the three Beatles, John, Paul, and George, I want to re-record, or I want to record a week later, September 11th. We're going to do a B-side for How Do You Do It, which was supposed to be the actual A-side. So they go in and they don't tell Ringo that they're going to hire a session drummer. They didn't hire him, but George Martin was going to hire him because he wasn't really happy with the way Ringo played on the sessions. So comes a week later, they go in to record, and Ringo sees Andy White, a very well-known session drummer, at the kit. Not very happy. Well, they record P.S. I Love You, but and they also re-record Love Me Do with Andy White on drums this time. The powers that be at EMI decide that they don't like any of the takes of How Do You Do It as the single. It's not going to be released. And they decide that the recording from September 4th of Love Me Do with Ringo on drums would be the Beatles' first single. Ringo's very happy, all right? Because on the September 11th one, he only played tambourine, and he sulked because he thought they were pulling a Pete Best on him, that he was only good in the for live and not in the studio. And that was really not what he was there for. He really wanted to be the Beatles drummer for all the occasions, but was happy when they picked his version to be the Beatles' first single. And later he recalled, it was my first wax. We're on wax now. We're on record. That was amazing. So cut to 50 years later, and the powers that be decide we're going to celebrate the Beatles' first single. Fair enough. Excellent. Good idea. Very, momentous, historic moment in the Beatles' history. Great idea. Well, they press a bunch of copies. It's going to be limited edition. So they press a bunch of copies and they send to retailers. And they say, we're going to send it, you can send it out at a certain time and it's going to be big, and here you go. Well, in the interim, someone discovers that what they pressed up was the album version with Andy White. Now, I should go back and say that the September 11th version with Andy White was released on the Please Please Me album. So the single, Ringo, the album, Andy White. Now that we got that straight. So they pressed this up in error because they weren't celebrating the actual single release because Andy White was on the one they pressed. Oops. This is where Love Me Redo comes in. They send out memos to everybody saying, don't send these out to the retailers. Well, the retailers already got pre-orders from people like me, and they sent them out. So guess what? I got one, and I got an error copy with Andy White on drums, which is good for me, not good for the people over at Apple and whoever else, EMI, who were telling everybody to destroy those copies and that they would not, the memo actually said they would not be redone. So that's kind of weird. They were just going to forget the anniversary. But they ended up redoing it anyway. So did they do it correctly the second time? Yes and no. The first era on the flip side had P.S. I Love You, but with a wrong matrix number. It's supposed to be R4949, B side, and it wasn't. It was a very different matrix number. So they messed up. So you figured they would clean that up on the redo, right? On the remanufacture of the single. No. The B side of the re-release, which had Ringo correctly on drums, still had the era matrix number, or at least the era label number for P.S. I Love You. They didn't even fix that. I guess they were so nervous about getting Ringo actually on the re-release, on the redo, that they just didn't even care about the B-side, which is good for collectors, I guess, but it looks kind of bad for the company. But anyway, let me get into a little bit about the two and the differences. First of all, the original single that was released has the hole, punch out hole. So you could always tell that that's not these re-releases. Both of the re-releases that they did in October of 2012 did not have a punch out hole, as you can see. It's just a solid hole. All right. And even the re-release, the redo, which was released on October 25th, by the way, did not have, I'm sorry, this is sealed, so I can't really take it out and show you better. But again, did not have the punch out. So it's very easy to tell that it's not, you're not going to confuse it with a first or even second, third, or fourth, original release. These have no punch outs in the middle. But let me just tell you the differences so you can spot them. The original single that was done in error, and to be released on October 5th, which got out and was not destroyed. Well, most of them weren't destroyed. Or actually, some weren't destroyed. Most were destroyed. So if you got one, you really got a collectible. The original commemorative single had very dark gray text print. And I'll show you on a picture anyway, but it's very dark gray. You can almost not read it. All right. The redo on October 25th has a much lighter print. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a much lighter print than the original. You sort of can tell there, right? It's much lighter. Also, that's the way you can spot it with the naked eye. If they're sealed, you're not going to be able to do what I'm going to tell you. But if they're not sealed, or if you want to make sure after you come home and bought them that you bought the correct item, the matrix numbers in the run out groove are different. The matrix numbers on the era, the first release, October 5th, are BC88258-01A1. I'm reading because I can't remember that. And the matrix on the corrected single, which still had the incorrect P.S. I Love You, is BC91232-01A. So there are definitely differences. Again, you won't be able to tell the matrix numbers unless you have opened copies. Hopefully you don't have open copies, and hopefully you can tell just by the dark and light print on the label. The darker one is the error, the lighter one is the reissue on October 25th. So you really want to have both, just to say, you have the withdrawn copy and the corrected copy. Again, I don't know how this would happen, quality control, but it happened, and it's good for us collectors, but not really good as a good look for Apple. But it doesn't matter. They've done us really good in the past years anyway with all the remixes, and we love them for that. So go out and try to find these Love Me Do and Love Me Redo commemorative singles from October of 2012. And hopefully you've learned something here, and you may even have a copy if you bought them just to have a commemorative single. You may not even know that you have a withdrawn one if you pre-ordered it. So go look at your stuff And we will be back next time with another Fab 4 Free For All Finds video. Take care.